Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing great. So today we'll be discussing about Black Swan event and we will do a live case study on Nokia. Okay, so without further ado, let us start. First of all, let us to understand this Black Swan event. What is this Black Swan event? I will be sharing with you a case study which will be the entire story of Nokia, and for that reason, like, we'll be going through the main events of Nokia. So this will help us to gain the insights of Nokia also, and then after the entire detailed story of Nokia, we'll be also learning what is Black Swan event actually. So if we talk about Nokia the main events of Nokia, first of all, the Nokia was formed in 1865 by three smart people. Obviously they're smart, that's why they had built Nokia. So it is a company of the Finland, and it was formed by three people. One is Frederick, Edward and Leo. So these are the pictures of these three great personalities who had built Nokia. Now if I talk about the second main event of Nokia, so in 1998 Nokia was termed as the fastest selling mobile brands globally. So if you see the entire pie chart over here, which is the market share of 2005, you can find that Nokia is having 31.9% of the total mobile handset market, which was followed by 17.9% of Motorola, and then it was Samsung. So there was no origin of Apple at this point of time, which was almost around 2005, right? Next, if we talk about the third main event, it was that in 1999 Nokia's profit was hiked to 4 billion. Can you imagine, guys, what an incredible market it was having at that time? We all remember that, right? Our all father, uncles, everyone was having that Nokia phone. Nokia 1100 was there, Nokia 1600 was there. So we'll see that after this slide. So if I talk solely about Nokia and the number of units of mobile phones sold by Nokia, you can see over here in 1999 Nokia has sold almost 76,000 handsets, which was followed by Motorola, almost 47,000 handsets. Then Ericsson, if you remember that Sony Ericsson, right, the Walkman series was also there. The Sony Ericsson had sold almost around 30,000 handsets, followed by Samsung 17,000, Panasonic 15,000, and others were combiningly forming 96,000. So you can see almost 30% of the entire market was held by Nokia itself, right? Now, obviously, in 2003, Nokia did created the best selling mobile, that is the Nokia 1100. We all know this phone, and in our entire lifetime, all of us, all of the 90s kids or the 80s kids, not 80s are not kids anymore, I'm so sorry for that. All those people, all of us had used this mobile at certain point of our life. And most importantly, we have also played the games, right? The snake game, 3D vector game in this phone, right? So this phone is a bit nostalgic. It creates a nostalgia in our mind, isn't it? So let me know in the comments below that who have used this Nokia 1100 phone in their lifetime, in any point of their lifetime, right? Now, Nokia has faced a huge success, but then only Nokia started fall down, right? So what happened in later after 1999, after a few years after when it was like the market leader, Nokia all of a sudden started losing the market share, right? So there are few reasons why Nokia started losing their market share, and we will be discussing that in the later part. So at that particular time, all other companies like Apple, Samsung, all these companies are innovating new things. As it is said, guys, that change is the only constant. And if you are not constantly changing, you're constantly challenging yourself, and you are not adapting with the market, consumers or customers, whoever is buying products from you, will stop buy products from you, and they will be looking for better options. So did happen with Nokia itself. So as a result, Apple came up with iPhone, which disrupted the market and gained popularity very quickly. And in our coming videos, we will be sharing a case study on Apple also. So please stay tuned with us and subscribe our channel for more such videos on business case studies. And also, Samsung also came with new innovations. There was Samsung 3, Samsung 4. These were the names of the phone over there, which came and also failed like a forest fire. And everyone was talking about Samsung and Apple at that time. But to compete with this Apple and Samsung, Nokia also launched a phone which was named as iPhone Killer, but it failed drastically. And now it paved the way for Apple and Samsung for ruling the market. As a result, in the next 5 to 6 years, Nokia failed miserably. Even the market share declined, and it was negligible by the late 2010. So if you see over here, the market value of Nokia was once $50 billion, but later it came to $7 billion only. And if we compare the number of millions of units sold of these smartphones, if I do a comparison for Apple and Nokia, you can see over here, in the first quarter of 2010, Apple was standing at almost 10 million units. And in quarter 1 2012, that is in the first quarter of 2012, Apple sold almost 35 million units. For Nokia, whereas it was just the reverse. In the initial part, that is in the first quarter of 2010, there were 25 million units of Nokia phones sold, whereas in quarter 1 2012, there was just 11.9 million of this smartphone, that is Nokia smartphones, were sold. And if we talk about the revenues, in the first quarter, the Nokia revenue was almost $2.3 billion, whereas the revenue for Apple phones, that is the iPhones, were $22.7 billion. Now, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that in 2011 Nokia was finally acquired by Microsoft. Right now, like guys, we have understood the entire story. We have understood all the main points, why, like, about Nokia, how did it originated, how has it originated, and what was the life events of Nokia that happened with Nokia. Now finally we'll talk about why Nokia failed. So there were three main reasons. According to my analysis, there are three main reasons why Nokia failed. Number one is not adapting to the environment. Everyone was adapting, all the Samsung, Motorola, everyone was adapting to the environment, and they were upgrading themselves to Android. But Nokia did not accept Android, and Nokia was not ready to take Android. Nokia thought that Android will not be the talk of the town, and all these Samsung or Motorola, all these smartphone companies will fail drastically if they start installing Android in their phones, Android system in their phones. So Nokia did not accept Android, and this thing that, as we all know, change is the only constant. Nokia was not ready to change itself. Number two, poor marketing strategies. If you remember, then we do remember that Nokia had launched many kinds of iPhones, where there were multiple number of series, Nokia N series, Nokia E series, Nokia S series. So when you are just giving number of options to the customers, the customer ultimately get confused. If I go to buy a Nokia phone, I'll be confused when the seller will show me, look, this is Nokia N series, there is Nokia E series, there is Nokia S series. But the marketing strategy should be actually like iPhones. You all know that iPhone. This Apple has a brilliant marketing strategy. It only launches one kind of phone every year. It has started with 4S, 5S, 6S, 7S, and it is just upgrading the same phone, and it is giving new features, so that no particular customer has a multiple choice. Whether they only get the choice of three things mainly. That is, if I talk about iPhone 14, it is iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Plus, iPhone 14 Pro Max. So the same thing, the same genre of the mobile, but a little upgradation, and that's it. So whenever. And it is also giving the customer no choice. It is giving the customer only the solid phone. That is, look, if you buy iPhone 14, then you will be ahead of the generation. You will be having all the features that were there in the previous phones. But what Nokia did, Nokia was there were no such change in the software itself, but there were just minor changes in the hardware, and they were selling different types of phone, N series, E series, and S series. So this was also one of the poorest marketing strategies for Nokia, why it failed. And number three is the overconfidence. Obviously, whenever every company, every smartphone company was accepting Android, where every company was started installing Android in their phones, Nokia was the only one which was quite sure that if also they don't install Android, then still they will win the game. But due to that overconfidence, they have paid a lot, and their market shares decreased drastically, as we have seen in the previous slide. Now, why I have told an entire story that is of Nokia to make you understand the Black Swan event. So guys, if we talk about the theoretical definition of Black Swan event, it goes like this. Black Swan event is a high impact event that is difficult to predict, as Nokia or the senior management of Nokia was not able to predict that ऐसा भी कुछ हो सकता है under normal circumstances, but that in retrospect appears to have been inevitable, and which can create a huge loss for the company itself. So this is actually Black Swan event, which is in normal conditions it is not predictable कि ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है, but ऐसा जब हो जाता है, कुछ ऐसा हो जाता है, then it creates a huge loss. Even the businessman can go bankrupt. So mainly this Black Swan event is used in cases of stock market, but I thought of building a case study around Nokia, as everyone is aware of this mobile company, that is Nokia. So I have thought of mixing the case study of Nokia with Black Swan event, and try to inculcate the knowledge about Black Swan event to you guys by this way. So this Black Swan theory was first proposed by Nassim Nicholas Taleb in 2007, and I will just tell you why this Black Swan event created. So look, if we talk about swan, if I just ask you, have you seen a swan, you will always say yes, you have seen a swan. And obviously, not being a racist here, but you will be imagining a white swan. As you know, black swans are pretty rare to find. Almost there are no black swan, but there was someone had seen their black swan. So in that case, so black swans are not are actually not there. It is not true. Black swans are there, but it is very rare. So that is why he has termed this as Black Swan event. That is, this is a very rare event, and which is maybe which occurs in 1 in 100 years, maybe kind of that. So, and it is very difficult to predict. So that is why I have tried to compare the story of Nokia with this Black Swan event. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you have learned something new today. If yes, then please do subscribe the channel and keep us supporting, and we'll be bringing more such videos in the coming days.